So thank you for coming to the Data Protection Demystified. My name is Ibi Ramani. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager at VMware, focused on storage and data protection. So here's your disclaimer. Whatever you see in the session, you must have seen this at least a gazillion times by now. But let's see what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about the challenges people have with data protection. We'll talk about how people are doing data protection without virtualization, because that's interesting. That's something we need to talk about because we want to understand what people are used to doing and how we're going to transcend the customers from doing data protection without virtualization into the virtualization space. So then we'll talk about how do you do data protection with virtualization, and then the options that you have with VMware for data protection. The options with vStorage APIs, the data recovery product, and how you might want to go into doing data protection with cloud. And I also have a little use case, and interestingly, the use case is our VMware IT, how we have implemented data protection in our IT, what has changed, what we did, and a before and after screenshots as well. With that, let me talk about a very general, high-level challenges that people face. If you look at the challenges, it's basically split. And we're talking about data protection challenges. So it's basically split into two areas. One is the business challenges and the data center challenges. Obviously, when you look at the business challenges, these are the things, if we have admins, sysadmins, these are the things you keep hearing about, right? So I want to manage my compliance. I don't care about what's really happening in the environment. From a high level, I only want to meet my compliance. I have limited staff. I don't have budget for you. So this must sound familiar. But if you look at the data center challenges, the challenges is about sprawling. The challenge is about growth. The challenge is about growth around physical environment and also the virtual environment. And how people meet those requirements. How do you manage those requirements? Different applications have different needs. How do you manage your data protection so that you can protect all the applications in your environment, starting with the Tier 1 applications? And also have an efficient process. So if you're used to your traditional backup technologies, there are different ways people manage this, right? They have policies, they have different tiering that they do to manage different applications. So with that, let's get into basic data protection without virtualization, what people are doing in a physical environment. So in a physical environment, what people are generally doing is they're doing a backup through the agent. They install the agent, and then they perform the backup, which is great. I mean, people have been doing it. It's been good. But what we are also recognizing is it becomes hard to manage. If you have a lot of environments, anybody over here with more than 100 clients, physical clients? Okay. So it becomes managing, it's a burden. When you look into that. So how do you manage that? And then you have to manage those agents, and then you have to ensure that you have the right backup window, and then you have different policies. You do full backups, you do incremental backups, cumulative backups, and it goes on and on and on. And then to add to the mix, do you want to use a virtual tape library? Do you want to do deduplication? There's all these other technologies that go with it that makes performing backups a complete mystery, a complete science. But then what people have also started doing is they do array snapshots. This is for the physical environment. We're not in the virtual environment yet. So when they do the array snapshot, it's a great way of leveraging the arrays technology, the built-in technology within the array to perform a snapshot and then do a backup of that snapshot without going through an agent, without going through the server. You're leveraging the underlying infrastructure to do that, which is great. But unfortunately, when you do array snapshots, it's not taking care of your whole environment. It's only backing up your data for your applications. What about your operating system? It's not taking care of your operating system. So there are some challenges with that as well. And how do you make it a standard? Not all applications are treated the same. So you might have a Tier 1 application which might have a high-end array which can perform an array snapshot, but what about your Tier 2 application which might not have that high-end array where you can leverage the snapshot technology? What happens in that case? So it comes to a point where it's hard to manage. It's hard to make a standardized practice for your environment. So what we have seen with large customers, they do a mix of technologies. So with a raise of hand, how many of you are using some kind of array-based snapshot technology? Okay, let me ask you another question. Is that the only technology are you using for backup? Okay, so there's my point. So let's look what's happening in the physical environment, and some of you guys will already get what I'm getting at over here, but let's, for the fun of it, let's go through this. And these are numbers I just put in. I'm a marketing guy. I've just put it based on my experience, so please don't quote me on this. But it's just to help you understand a point that I'm going to make over here. So if you look at this environment, you have a physical server, you have the app and the operating system. You're running your CPU and your memory. Everything is pretty good, 15 to 20% CPU utilization. The memory utilization is low. No worries. You install an agent, you perform a backup, you put it to the backup destination. Let's look what happens to the utilization. It goes up. Okay, fine, 50 to 70%, memory is 50 to 80%. Everything is fine. We are happy. Okay? Hey, it's a marketing guy's slide, so we are happy. But now you look into an environment where we have virtualized. So how many of you think doing a backup in a virtual environment is a pain? Oh, I'm glad. I shouldn't be talking over here. Everybody feels happy. So anyway, so what I say is virtualization basically exposes data protection. So let's see what I'm trying to get over here. So now you have virtualized. You have, in this example, you have 3 applications running. Your CPU memory utilization has gone up from the previous use case. It's gone up to 40 to 70%. Memory is about up there. Now you add backup to the mix. You put an agent, you add backup. The utilization, do you think it's going to go up? Pretty obviously, yeah. So it goes up. The thing that's happening over here is, if you know backup technologies, the way it works, it's hungry for all the resources you have. It will suck all the resources you have. And hence, what happens when you virtualize, you're using those extra resources that were not used. You're using those, and when you put backup into the mix, it's taking all the resources. So the idea behind this is, how can we leverage a technology, backup technology, so that we don't use those resources because we have already allocated those resources for consolidation, where we have added more VMs. So an ideal solution would look like this, where you can provide a native snapshot, and the snapshot is not dependent on any array technology, because we talked about the array technology, you're limited. Not every application gets treated the same way. So use a native snapshot technology that's not dependent on the array, and also provide backup for both your application and your operating system, not just the application data. When we talked about the array snapshot technology, we said that was the number one challenge we had, was it was only taking care of your application data, but it was not taking care of your operating system. So yeah, something that can do a native snapshot, provide apps and data level backup. And the reason we are doing native snapshot is because we are not going through the agent. We are not going through the server. We're doing underneath the server that is on the storage layer. So hence, you're not going to use the resources from the server. You use the native snapshot underneath, and you provide backup. Hence, you get a faster backup, and you have less pain. So that's the goal over here. Reduce some management challenges where it's easily integrated into some kind of a partner solution. So we'll talk more about that. So this is a thought. So what about customers who don't have partner solutions? What about customers who are looking for a VMware-only solution? So we should be able to provide that kind of solution as well. A solution through maybe a vCenter. So that would be a second option as well. That was a slide on that one. So now let's look at the difference. We talked about providing off-host backup, right? We talked about doing the snapshot. Let's look at the numbers. And if you look at the numbers of a standard client where you do a backup, this is actually using one virtual CPU. You saw that to do a backup, it takes about 20 minutes in this example. And then if you do a off-host backup where you're not using the resources of the server that needs the backup, you're using very less resource. And it's quicker, it's faster, you're not impacting the servers as well. So it's good to do off-host backup. That's the bottom line over here. So you start the backup, both backups start, one starts at 8, one starts at 8:55, and once you complete the backup, it just takes less time, about half the time in this example. But as you see, as you increase the number of VMs, this impact will be significant. And I have numbers to show you some of the impacts as well. So very low impact on the ESX host, the VM guest, when you do an off-host backup, when you leverage snapshot technologies, not you leveraging the in-guest backup. So at the end of the day, you get a shorter backup time. So let's look into the data protection options. Based on that, let's look at the evolution of virtual machines. So we talked about backing up VMs through the client. We saw the challenges of backing up VMs through the client. The challenge was it was taking all the resources that was left there. But the good thing about a host-based backup is it's very similar to the physical deployment. So you are managing your physicals. You have 10 physicals you're managing. You're installing agents on the 10 physicals. You're doing the backups. Next thing happens is you have your virtual environment. You're installing the VMs, and you're doing the backups on the virtual environment as well. It's consistent to the physical environment, something you're used to. It's simpler to restore. But again, you still have the same challenges. You have to install multiple agents, and it also impacts the server resources. So next step was we bought VCB about 3 years ago. How many of you guys use VCB right now? Well, I would say throw it. Well, pretty soon we are going to EOL VCB. So you'll see that announcement come in pretty soon. So we introduced VCB about 3 years ago. And what we did was with VCB is we provided a native snapshot. And we didn't have the customers go through the guest OS to do the backup through the agent. It was an agentless backup. But we had our challenges. You needed scripting. You needed some integration. So what we did was, last year we introduced the vStorage APIs for data protection. And what we did with vStorage APIs for data protection is we really made it seamless for the customer to do an off-host backup, basically a backup using the native snapshot technology that ESX provides. The key thing over here is it uses native snapshot technology, eliminates the agents, all the good thing, green is good, red is bad. So you see all the benefits that you had before, you get it with this thing. So we'll talk about vStorage APIs for data protection. The thing with vStorage APIs for data protection is it's a partner-based solution. It's not our own one solution. It's a framework. And we are going to talk about that again and again, that it's a framework. It's not like when you have vStorage APIs for data protection, you have data protection. It's just a framework. You still need your partner solution that's whether it's EMC, Symantec, Vision Core, Veeam. And I have a slide that will show that as well. And what we also do is we give choice to the customer. We have native solution as well. So we'll talk about the native solution that customers have, that you guys have right now that you can leverage to do backups for less than 100 VMs maybe, or maybe backups for your remote offices as well. So this was the VCB. So when we introduced VCB, you had to install an agent on the backup application. You have to have scripts. You have to integrate with the backup application. And what it did was it did something called the double copy. It took a snapshot, and then it moved. Oh, my graphics not working. You did a snapshot, and then you moved that snapshot through the media, the backup media, into the tape or disk, whatever destination you had. So it required something what we call as a holding tank. And it was pretty good for the first rev, but we recognized our customers wanted more, and hence we came with VADP. So this is the only slide on VCB I'm going to have. I'm not going to talk about VCB anymore. VCB is going to be EOL pretty soon. So let's talk about VADP. So vStorage APIs for data protection was something that was introduced with vSphere 4.0, and what we did was, it was the next generation of data protection. It uses a framework that enables you to do snapshots using ESX to perform backups without using agents from the host. And in doing that, it's deployable on either Windows or Linux platform. So we give you a choice. And you can restore it anywhere as well. You can support Windows guests, Linux guests. We don't care. it's an experience that you have as a user that you have the same experience using your old backup technology. Whether you're using, your normal, the backup exec, the net backup, the Avamar, all those technologies that's out there, Commvault, you can still use that. And it supports all the things that you are used to in your traditional backup technology. You do your full backup, you do your incremental, you do your differential. How many of you do full incrementals, some kind of policy-based backups right now? Okay, we've got a few. So it supports that. And the other thing is from a restore point of view, you can do a VM level restore, you can do a file level restore, you can do an application level restore. We don't care. We're providing that framework to you to leverage using your backup partner. So the other thing good about it is the experience is very similar to the physical environment. And this is key over here. Because if you go on the Symantec or your EMC, whatever the big names I'm using, but we have other partners as well, from their GUI, you don't even know that this exists because we have opened up the APIs, they have created their APIs into this, where you execute the command through their management tool, and it's pretty seamless. It's pretty transparent. And all this thing is happening in the background. As far as you're concerned, you're only managing your resources, your VMs. Your VMs have been backed up through their management tool, so you don't have to learn any new management tool. So that is pretty interesting and pretty good as well. And your restore is simple because of that. You're restoring it the same way, and the flexibility that you can restore your VMs, you can restore your files, or you can restore your application, really makes your life easier as well. So that's the way. It is a native integration. So if you look at the diagram over here, I kind of show the APIs into the ESX and the backup application to show the native integration between the two. The thing about vStorage APIs for data protection, it is a framework that enables data protection partners. Okay, it's a framework. It's used to provide off-host backup, so we talked about that. It leverages the partner's technology. It is not a complete data protection solution. So once you have vSphere, by the way, you have data protection on all the vSphere products out there. This thing is there. So you don't have to buy a special kind of a vSphere package to leverage vStorage APIs for data protection. So it's available to you, and it's not a complete solution. You have to rely on your data protection, your partners for this solution. It's not used for restoration of data virtual machine. So again, whatever restore that you have with your partner, you have to leverage that. Here are some of the partners. I might be missing one or two, but I've tried to get most of them. So this nearly covers 90% of our customers who use these partners. I'm pretty sure you guys use them too. Is there any other partner that is not here that you would like to see? Which one? Arkia. Okay. So I don't know if you're working with them yet or not, but where are they based out of? Oh, okay. Makes sense. Sorry? Which one? Oh, okay. Yeah, so they're all on the roadmap, so you'll see them, but I've not heard of them before, so I'll talk to you afterwards. Here are all the vendors. You can go on the website and you can see what they're doing. And here are some of the quotes from our partners who started using, who worked with the integration. So here's a quote from Symantec, one of our partners. Christine Michel, she's a senior product marketing manager, and she basically credits VADP to help them solve more Net Backup 7. That's pretty powerful because the customers who recognize the value of vStorage APIs for data protection, they're asking for that. So they're going to the next level for the data protection provider as well, right? Here's a comment from our partner from EMC. So I'm not showing favoritism. I'm just putting some partners over here. Just want to be very sensitive about this. And in this, it's helped them integrate into the next generation of backup solution with customers as well. So that's an example from EMC. Here's Jason Maxtux from Vision Core. And here he's talking about he's kicking VCB. He's not going to use VCB. With their new release, they're just going to do vStorage APIs for data protection. Not just because of the fact that they know that we are going to EOL it soon, but also because of the fact that the value it provides the customer and the simplicity as well for them. So if you go back in the old days, people who are using VCB, there was some integration work, you had to do some services, there was all this work involved, it took time to deploy. But with Data Protection API, once you have the current version of the data protection software out there, you're ready to go. It's much simpler, less work up front than it was before, and you get all the benefits. Yes? So what we say, and actually I have a slide on that as well, where we say, we give customers a choice. So if they need something like that for their transactional logs or something, they can still do agent backup. So I'm not saying this is one of the solutions that we are providing, right? So I talked about ideal solution. So I gave an example of a solution where you can use this, you can use our native solution, and I still promote the agent-based backups in some cases. And I have a slide where you see that as well. So here are some customer codes, different customers, different industries at different levels of providing different codes. The bottom line is with vStorage APIs for data protection, they were able to deploy things quicker. They were able to reduce their backup window. The management became simpler, and they were able to get better performance with it as well. So let's talk about the next product, the data recovery product. And one thing I didn't mention was the vStorage APIs for data protection is also leveraged by our own product called the data recovery product. So the data recovery product is a product that's available to you. If you have Essential Plus and up, you have this product. Anybody over here using data recovery, by the way? Okay, great. Thanks. And just an anecdotal information. Yesterday, the first session at 9 a.m., it was about data recovery by Michael White. I heard there were 600 people signed up for that session on data recovery. It makes me feel really bad with these empty seats over here. But data recovery product has been very successful. We have seen our customers using it. It's very simple, very easy. Tight integration into the vCenter. It's your wizard-driven backup, very similar to your normal backup. We designed this for our SMB customers. We designed it for customers with less than 100 VMs. We also kept in mind the customers for the remote office and the back office who wanted to get some kind of data protection on the remote office and the back office. A lot of times when I go and talk to customers and we talk about their remote office and back office, they have something, but they really don't know what's going on. And I've heard that again and again a lot of times. So one of the things about data recovery was anybody can manage it. If you are a vSphere administrator, you can manage this product. Because it's integrated into the vCenter, it's really easy to manage your backups through data recovery. But the caveat to data recovery is it's not a scalable solution like your partner solution. So we want to make sure that our SMB customers and the remote offices, if there is a need, leverage this product as well. The great thing is, because it's a VMware product, it's aware of the HA, the vMotion, the DRS, all those things happening with your VMs. It's aware of that. And at the end of the day, the goal was to give a simplified management and automated feeling for your environment. Basically, it goes and scans all your VMs, knows what there is, and then you create policies based on it. And then it also, because it's leveraging vStorage APIs for data protection via DP, and we talked about that, you can have granular recovery. You can recover at an application level, or you can recover the whole VM. So you can have that as well for faster recovery. And what we have also done in this product is have added deduplication within the product. So when you back up, this thing backs up into the disk, so you don't have to worry about tape. You back them on the disk, and it deduplicates that information to reduce the size as well. So let's look at the console. Very similar. If you've used a backup tool, you can use this. It's not like your 3-tier architecture where it has to get complex. It's meant for the SMB. It's very simple. You can set up policies, days and times. You can look at the backups. You can do multiple backups, and you can go back, restore. So if you look at down the screen, I don't expect you to read, but what you can do is you can go back 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however you want, and you can come back and restore it yourself. You don't have to go through a backup admin to restore this. And the key thing is you can also replace your lost VM. You can restore it at different location. You don't have to restore it at the same location. And you can select the disk to restore. So it's pretty straightforward tool integrated into the vCenter. So let's look at the deduplication. So I used one of my slides for data protection, and I said, okay, you know what? The way we do backup is you take a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm the marketing guy, so I'm using my own presentation. I took a presentation. I tried to create backup. What it gives is it gives it a tag. So here, let's say the tag is ABC, an identifier that this presentation is represented by ABC. And it goes over there and it puts the tag over there. Now, what I do is I go and change the date on the slide deck. I change the name of the slide deck and I save it. If you're using a traditional backup technology, it will back up the whole slide deck again. But with deduplication, it knows the changes, so it gives a unique identifier for the change as well. And it says, okay, you know what? D represents just that change. So it will only take that change into account. Hence, you'll back up less information. So if you're using a traditional technology, you might end up backing up the same thing again. But over here, you're backing only limited space, limited information. And if you have a duplicate, it recognizes it's a duplicate. I'm not going to back it up again. It's already been backed up. I know the identifier is ABC. I'm going to leverage that to recognize that. So hence, the bottom line is you back up less and less and less. That's the thing about deduplication. So the technology, there are different kinds of deduplication technologies out there, and our partners also provide deduplication technologies as well that you can also leverage if you're leveraging the partner technology. But this also has a deduplication technology, which is basically a destination-based inline deduplication technology. We use SHA-1 variable length, which ensures that when you do a deduplication, it's reducing the maximum, right? So because it's a variable length, it will have a maximum impact on the reduction of space. And it's integrated. You don't have to worry about it. It's something you don't even think about. But when you back it up, it occupies less space. We talked about granular recovery, right? So you do a full backup. You can do incremental backups. The way data recovery works is you do full once, and then you do incremental forever. And because it's a deduplication technology, you don't have to worry about incremental forever. So it's pretty simple tool. It's integrated into the VSS, so it supports VSS as well. And you can do your VM level backup or file level backup. And like I said, you can go on the vCenter and work your way through it. So let's look at the performance advantages. So we talked about in-guest backup. So here's a number done by our partner. They did some benchmarking for an environment, and they tested the host, and they said, okay, it took them 22 megabytes per second to do an in-host backup, which is fine, no problem. Then they put in VCB, and they saw a little performance improvement. You guys agree there will be some better performance with the VCB in there? Because it's not in-guest? Yes. All right. So 63. I guess it's after lunch, so it takes some time. Anyway, so 63 megabytes per second. So they said, okay, that's good. We saw threefold increase. Let's do it with vStorage APIs for data protection and see if there's any increase. Do you guys think there will be an increase? Yes. Thank you very much. He's eating the banana, so he has all the energy over there. So there you go, 450. Why do you think there's such a tremendous increase in speed from VCB to data protection? What was that again? Well, yes and no. But the thing I was looking for is in VCB, I talked about double copy. It copies into the disk and then into the server. With data protection API, it's a direct. It's just a single snapshot. So it's not doing dual copy. So hence you can see, based on this test, why if you can leverage data protection API, why do you need to use VCB? So from a performance point of view as well, data protection is better. So let's take it a notch up. Let's see. Let's add deduplication. Obviously, this deduplication over here was done by the partner. We have our own deduplication as well. This test was done by the partner, so they use their own deduplication tool over here. So do you guys expect an increase over here? Might as well. It's going up, right? So we saw some additional benefits for the customers as they went up the ladder. So if you really look into it, look how much this has changed from your in-house, in-guest backup all the way to vStorage APIs, and then you add deduplication to that. You're looking at huge amount of difference. You're looking at hundreds-fold different over here. So the key thing over here is when we did the deduplication and the data protection, it was used the same storage destination. We didn't change anything over there. So you had the advantage. And then we look into the data protection to the cloud. Oh, we have a question. VMware data recovery. So VMware data recovery uses vStorage APIs for data protection. So it will be better than that because it has deduplication. So this is our partner technology for deduplication. So I'm not going to say which one is better, but you should expect pretty similar to the test 4 use case. The in-guest backup was to the tape. So this was to the storage. That was to the tape. That's a good question. So data protection to the cloud was the next thing I was going to talk about. And I have slides to show where there are other sessions on data protection. I really encourage you to see those sessions as well. Basically, what we are looking into is, we're looking into this today, right? Let me finish this thought. How do we enhance the customer experience, right? So when you go out there, you talk to Savis, Terramark, there are all these cloud providers, and they're saying, you can back up to us. But from a customer point of view, you're already managing your third-party backup vendor. Now you're managing vCenter. And now you have to manage backup to the cloud. There's all this mix going on. So how about we provide you an interface, and that's the direction we are leading towards, where you can back it up to Amazon, EMC, we don't care, through an API, and we don't care whether your data resides on FC, iSCSI, FCOE, NFS, SWIFT, we don't care about that. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is you manage less and less tools. It doesn't matter that you're backing up the cloud, that you have to manage additional hardware or additional management tools. So you manage it either through the vCenter or through the partner solutions that you already have, whether it's EMC, Symantec, Commvault, Vision Core, the name goes on. So this is something you will see coming in the future, where we are talking about integrating it such that the user experience is seamless. And I don't want to steal most of the thunder, because Asmir has a talk. Asmir is my product manager who talks about this. It's one of his slides that I stole. And I said, I need to show customers something about the future. So he gave me this slide. But he has a couple more slides on the data protection to the cloud where he talks about it, on how we envision this happening. But bottom line is, you can see over there, there's an API that we have, and everybody talks through the same API. This was the thing I was talking about. So about our customers using different technologies. So we talked about in-guest backup. We said we had the challenges with in-guest backup. We really eliminated the need for hardware-based snapshot, because we talked about our own snapshot technology using the vStorage APIs for data protection. And then we talked about data recovery products. So you as a customer, what do you need to use? So I tried to make a guideline. So if you want a non-native solution, you can do your backups the way you're doing, through the client, through the agent. And if you have like 10 to 15 VMs, you're fine. But if your environment increases, we recommend that you use the third-party backup tools, the tools from our partners that leverage data protection APIs, so that you can get the performance benefits, you can get the management benefits, and have all the benefits that they provide. So I put deduplication in asterisk, saying that it's an option from our partners. Same thing with disaster recovery option. So you have all the benefits that you have from the existing partners, the data protection partners, come with this VADP. So there's nothing new. With that, we also talked about our native solution. We talked about data recovery product. So where does that fit in? So recovery product, we talked about, hey, it fits into the SMB use cases, and it also fits into the remote office use case. So what we have done over here is when we introduced the product, it had a cap of 100 clients. But in the 4.1 release, it's gone up to 1,000 clients. So what we are saying is if you have less than 1,000 clients, you can also look into data recovery as an option for doing your native backups as well. But like I said, data recovery product is not as advanced as the third-party backup tools because you get additional benefits from third-party backup tools that you don't have with data recovery yet. So if you're looking for cloning, you're looking for doing something back into tape, data recovery doesn't back up to the tape. It backs up to the disk. So you might want to look into that as well. And you have the vStorage APIs, so you can leverage that. The other thing to keep in mind with data recovery is you can also, like in some cases, have your normal third-party backup tools and also use data recovery for your remote offices or branch offices. I actually have a customer who has a group that always asks them for backup. They're always doing something. So what they've done is they've given them data recovery. They do the full backup through their backup vendor. But for that group, what they do is they said, okay, here's your data recovery tool. You provide the backup. You provide the restores. We don't have to worry about the restores anymore for you on a day-to-day basis. So you can have it that way as well. So with that, I'll get into the use case. That is the VMware IT. So here's VMware IT. We have our corporate headquarters in Palo Alto. We have our remote sites in Washington and Seattle. And we are managing about 18 terabytes of data. There's about 45 million files over there. So we were using our storage. We were using agent-based backup, very similar to what we talked about in the physical environment. So I'm talking about this about 3 years ago. This is what we were doing. So about 350 servers, SQL, you had a mix of applications, right? You had the database applications, the SharePoints, very similar to what you will find at a customer site. The biggest was about 5 terabyte Linux, so you can read all this. So let's look at what was happening, right? So the backup time was really long. We were doing your normal backup, you perform a backup, the backup would go through the network into the backup destination. In this case, you had one server, and it was a 3-tier architecture, so it had one server and 2 media servers, and the data moved from client to the network. So this really required a large backup window, and surprisingly, a full backup took 8 days. That's huge, 8 days to perform full backups, because we had a lot of small files, 45 million files. So the higher the number of files, the more time it takes. So we knew there was a problem. So what we did was we introduced VADP. So here's the same slide of VADP. I didn't want to mess that slide up. And we leveraged our backup vendor, the backup technology, and we also did some kind of cross-replication. But the net result was less than 12 hours of backup for doing a full backup, which was about 8 days before. So this is our own use case where we did it in VMware IT. It averages out about 7.5 minutes per server. Just after using VADP, we had significant benefits in our environment. Let's look at the restore. So when we requested the restore, based on the policies we had, restores doesn't happen automatically unless you have a nice automated tape library that goes and finds your tapes. In our environment, it started after 2 hours. It was a pain to our customers, in customers, to have something restore after so much time. We had people doing the development and the IT work. They wanted something restored. It took so long. And the other thing was, because we were using other backup technologies like multiplexing and streaming, it took even longer time to restore. People use all these technologies to decrease the backup window, but it has an impact on the restore. So the people who are using it appreciate what I'm talking about right now. So it added to the complexity. Again, the restore was going through the network from the server. So now let's look what has happened to the restore. Oops, this slide messed up. But with this, what happened was the restore, which was taking, let me go back to the slide, well, up to 2 hours was instantaneously because you can restore right away. So I apologize for that mess up. But the restore happened right away. So we were doing about 100 to 200 gigabyte. If we wanted to do it, we do it right away. Because you're not going through the network anymore. You just send the commands through the network, but the movement is from the tape to the disk, or the backup destination to the disk. So you're bypassing the network cloud, and hence you're getting a faster restore as well. Because the number one thing about backup is, yes, it's a pain, yes, it takes time, but what I really care about is, at the end of the day, is my restore. So if you can do restores quickly, instantaneously, that's what really matters. So with that, I'll finish this slide deck over here, but here are the things we talked about. At a high level, we have a high-level summary and a low-level summary. Basically, VMware provides you a choice. It provides you a framework to leverage your partner technology, and it also gives you a choice to use the native technology. You have options to do backups in the cloud, so we're going to get into that as well. And from a detail point of view, you get a flexible, simple, rapid backups through the vCenter if you're using VMware Data Recovery. If you're not using Data Recovery, you can using a partner solution with vStorage APIs for data protection and data recovery as well. You reduce your backup windows using the snapshot-based approach. So you're limiting your backup window. You're reducing that as well. And you're not impacting your client resource because you're doing it all off-host backup. You're not impacting your client. So that is another benefit that we provide with both the technologies, the VADP and the data recovery technology as well. And also, we saw the performance numbers, right? So from 23 GB all the way to 600 GB using partner deduplication. So you get a faster, rapid backup and rapid restore. We talked about the use case. So you get a rapid restore with that as well. And it gives you an integrated solution with the partners. So you don't have to manage scripting. You don't have to manage agents. You don't have to manage multiple layers. Either you're managing vCenter for data recovery or your partner's management tool for the integrated solution. So you have that option. And here are some other data protection presentation that will take place. Tomorrow, data recovery presentation is there. That's Michael White. There's another one on Thursday. And there's one, again, with Asmer. I also recommend going and looking into the roadmap session where we talk about the futures of data protection as well and how do we deploy it. The other thing is if you have ESXi, you want to plan the upgrade as well. So you can go onto the ESX Info Center to install it. I mean, it's really simple to install. It's really cheap if you want to implement that as well. And please go to our website to fill up the survey, and you'll get a free mobile phone. With that, I thank you all very much. Open up for questions.